The keynote sponsor for this morning is Karamat Wilderness Ways, which in many ways is the organization that has brought so many instructors here in Alberta together. It's a place we go to gather in August for a gathering called Rat Root Rendezvous. It's a place where Moores resides, and many of us have benefited from his teaching. And I want to thank them for stepping forward to be the keynote sponsor this morning for Francois Bourbeau's presentation. So we can just cue up the video. So if you haven't met these folks yet, that's Randy and Lori Brozema. They are the owners and operators, but in many ways they're friends and family and mentors for many of us. And I can't thank them enough personally for the opportunities they've given me to share, to teach, to instruct there, but also the incredible network of community that comes together on those courses from around the world. It's a little bit like this gathering here, but out there at their program there. This event gave me the opportunity to meet many people for the first time. And Francois Bourbeau was one of those. I've been an outdoor educator in Canada for 20 years. And in English-speaking Canada, he's virtually unknown because we're divided by two languages and an incredible geography. And sometimes we don't speak to our neighbors next door. But he has been involved with outdoor education in North America for a very long time, probably since I was down here somewhere. He's, if not the only, was very much the first, as far as I know, to get a PhD in the pedagogy of how do you teach survival. He experimented, he tried, he made mistakes that he's very open with in his books so that we can learn from his experiences. Amongst all of us here, he's one of the giants. He will challenge you, he will share his experiences, he might even startle you. But you will learn from Andre and his lifetime of experience and contributions to survival and bushcraft education. And it's my honor to welcome him to the stage, and I look forward to everything you have to share this morning.
That's an easy one. Two. Bowline. I would like to say, before I start, thanks to Karamat for having me. It's an honor. Thanks to Larry Dean Olson for his philosophy of the caveman. These men I made my leaders. That sentence was with me my whole life. From philosophy of the caveman. Love that. Thanks to Steve Watts, Jim Riggs, Eric Callahan, and all the people before me who were great and like for yourselves, me too. These guys are the giants before me. And I'd like to pay a special tribute to my two American native mentors, Gérard Siméon Montagnier, and Jimmy Bussum, the Cree, whose fingers were this big around. These guys were the end of an era. So I would like to also pay tribute to Yule Gibbons. Nobody's mentioned Yule Gibbons, but he got me going on the foods too. So we all know stalking the wild asparagus, right? And the other thing I'd like to say is thank you. This is a rare event. You guys are appreciating old guys. And other than natives, I've never seen that anywhere else. So I really appreciate that. I'll try to remember to say what I have to say. You know, old age is getting to us all. So thanks for that too. And it's been nice knowing you, because I'm not sure if I'll still be alive at the end of this presentation. Yesterday almost died. I sat down in a chair over there, and the chair collapsed. Right under me. I just fell straight to the floor as if there was no chair. And so I said, what are the odds of that happening to me amongst 300 chairs? I had to pick the one that fell straight to the ground. And everybody that knows me says the chances of that happening were 100%. See, you never know when things are going to happen to you. That's what risk management is all about. I'd like to give you the 3 first chapters of my risk management course before I even start talking about survival. The first rule in risk management, the first chapter, is get a risk management committee together. Okay? And a risk management committee that will do things because it needs to be done, not because the organization forces you to do it. You don't get people to do a survival course just because in the books it says, my staff had a survival course. No, you do it because you want your people to survive if ever something happens to them. So get a committee together. And the second, so when you have a committee like that and something like this happens, like I fell down on the chair, we call that a close call because nothing happened to me. It's called a close call. Now, if you don't do nothing about a close call, then there is going to be an accident and somebody's going to get hurt bad. Like somebody can die, somebody get... If I had happened to have my hand in the fold, you know, while I was doing that, I was losing a hand, you know? So this kind of stuff, if a close call is a close call, you got to listen to it. So listen to close calls is a very important risk management tool. So right now, you're all going to get up and you're going to test your chair, okay? Or we get Randy to test the chair, right, Randy? Or the giant guy, that's even better. Put the giant guy on there. Hey, Dave, you go test every one of these chairs, otherwise somebody's going to get hurt. But in risk management, the most important thing is this balance between, and I always say, and I'm going to come back to this, there's a balance between 2 things. Okay? The strength of the group on one side, and the difficulty of the trip on the other side. And when we look at the accident dynamics, how many people here are aware of what accident dynamics are? See, people think that, let's put up a little balance here, just for fun. People think that accident dynamics, you're going to put the people here, and you're going to put the activities there, like a canoe trip or whatever. And people think that what's going to happen is that all of a sudden a big accident's going to happen and poof, bang. And that's the end of that story. Well, that's not the way it happens. Accident dynamics doesn't work that way. There are accidents. That does happen. But it's very, very rare. Very, very rare. Most of the time what happens is this. See? Little thing happens. Another little thing. Another little thing. Another little thing. Another little thing. But eventually, after a whole bunch of little things happen, it falls over and the people have an accident. So I'll give you a real example of that. You're on a trip, and I always tell my leaders, watch the colors of what's going on. You've got something green, beautiful. Let's get something green. See? Let's put something green here. Right here. No, I won't. Okay. Let's put something green here. Okay. Everything's fine. Everything's fine. Everything's green. Everything's cool. No problem. Everything's going well. See? And as things happen, as you start putting these rocks on, then this is going to go down and it's not going to be green anymore. It's going to go down to yellow, then to orange, and then to red. And when it's red, there's an accident. So let's do a concrete example. So we're going hiking. Everybody's good spirits. Everything's fine. Everything's good. And everything's green. So as a leader, I say, everything's green, no problem. Then all of a sudden, it starts raining a little bit. Oh, it's raining. Okay, no problem. Just starts going a bit green-yellow. Okay? But as a leader, I have to be aware of that. And then it keeps going again because it starts raining, and then the guy pulls out his raincoat. And the other guy goes in his pack sack, and he doesn't have a raincoat. And he says to his friend, "Hey, Joe, where the hell did you put my raincoat? You were supposed to bring 2 raincoats." And Joe says, "Well, take care of your own raincoat. I don't think people carry my raincoat." You know? And then, so, conflict between those 2 individuals. "No problem, I'll lend you the plastic bag, you know. Take your knife and cut the top off." "Oh, my knife's dull, okay, I'll just rip it open. And I'll put the, okay, here, put this on." And he puts it on, you know, this. And as he puts it on, he puts a hole in here and a hole in there. There we go. Okay, so I've got this going on. And we've all been there, right? And he puts it on, and as it keeps raining, the rain starts going down his neck and into his thing, and he gets all soaking wet. And then he goes by the rose bushes and tears the crap out of his raincoat. And as he does that, all of a sudden as a leader, I look at that and I say, "Hey, that's not green anymore. We're into the yellow mode and getting into orange mode now." And he says, "I'm all wet because of you, Joe, you son of a bitch." And then it escalates, right? And then all of a sudden it gets to the end of the day, and everybody, the guy is wet, he gets all his stuff out of his pack sack, then he's used all his extra clothing, and all his extra clothing are wet, and then it gets down and keeps going down, and then you start putting rocks on this side, see? And by then, the danger flag should come up, see, like that. The danger flag should come up on your nice green thing. And you got to do something about it because you're in orange mode. And if you don't do something in orange mode, then the red mode comes up and the flag comes up. And then when you're in the red mode, this is what happens. See? That's accident dynamics. What happened is that the guy fell and slipped and hit his head on a rock and got crippled or died. And they say, it was an accident. No, it wasn't. It was a whole bunch of little rocks that you put on one after the other that killed you at the end. So as leaders, we have to be weary of this stuff, okay? So that's accident dynamics. I haven't started my presentation yet. Let's take a risk. Okay. Before I take a risk, I better check if my shoelaces are tied up. Right? And I better check what are the consequences of the risk. Okay, the consequences of the risk is I don't die, I'm okay. I won't like it. Okay, so I want to show you some ways to get into trouble. Now, I tried to inventory at one time a complete list of all the ways that you can get in trouble. But I forgot to write down, stand up on a chair on the stage, right on the edge, okay? So that's an impossible task. I tried, and every single time something gets added to the list, like falling down on a chair in an auditorium at a Bushcraft Symposium in 2019, okay? So I made just the categories of different things that can happen to you, and I want to read you a couple of them, like health issues, for example. You know, you start health issues. But there's a few categories. These are just categories of ways you can get into trouble, okay? Now, I won't read them all because lists kill, apparently, in the presentation. But health issues, accidents with motor vehicles, with tools, by stumbling, by being hit with a falling object, lost, breakdown, bogging down of the means of transport. Who's been there? Who's got their snowmobile stuck? Darkness hits before you're reaching your goal and you forgot your lights, you're stuck there for the night. Getting lost by taking shortcuts, by bad memory of a trail, following animal paths. Okay? Essential gear or food destroyed by wear and tear, by fire, by animals. They didn't deliver your food to your drop-off point. You're slowed down by unexpected weather, such as deep snow, wind, and unexpected weather. You never know when that's going to happen to you, you know. And it could be even worse than that. It could be ice, you know. Being caught by a rising tide. Panic or conflict when faced with a challenge. I mean, there's so many categories, and this is just categories of things that can happen to you, right? Never know. Okay, so we want to talk about skills in context now. I want to set my balance back up, because we want to talk about skills in context. So if we want to talk about skills in context, let's do a skill. I thought, what kind of skill can I show these guys? How about ways of making fire? I find a lot of these days, people throw them out the windows of cars on the roads, and they step on them with their cars and they break. And you still got the little spark, right? So you still have to be able to make a fire with this. So that's a skill. I'll tell you how to do it if you want. You want me to tell you how to do it? Okay. So what I do when I have this problem is you just do this. Keep scraping that thing. And then drop the powder on the surface. And do it again. And do it for 10 minutes. Okay, of this. And after 10 minutes, you can have quarter-inch little wee pile of this stuff. And then that'll take the spark, and off it goes with your little tinder on it. Okay, that's a skill. You do that skill. Is it a useful skill? That's what I want to talk about in a minute. Okay, let's do one that nobody's ever seen, because some people have seen that before. Let's do a skill that nobody else has ever seen before, And believe it or not, it's a fire-making skill. A new way to start a fire. You've got the survival blanket, and you want to make a fire. So I went out and made a little cherry loop, cherry wood. We're going to wrap survival blanket around this loop. Okay. Spin that sucker around like that. And you have to make the loop out of flexible material. Then you have to find a tree. And because it bends, this will become, as I pull at the back, this, and I press here and pull here, will become a parabolic mirror. Okay. And then I will hold a tinder out here and start it with the sun. Okay. The sun hits here and goes and does that here. Okay. So this is an experiment to see how long it will take to have a video of this on YouTube without me doing it. Okay. It works, okay? We've done it, but it works. But there will be a video of this on YouTube soon. It will come from this room because it's never been done anywhere else in the world, okay? It comes from Chicoutimi, Quebec, and I will not get credit for it. And I don't care because I'm going to die anyway. So go for it, guys. Okay, so now we have a skill. How useful is this skill? Okay. First of all, you've got to be in the unique and weird situation where you've got a survival blanket and no lighter in your pocket, which is stupid. I'd rather have a lighter in my pocket. Always get a yellow one, by the way, because you can see through it. And you see how much gas you've got left. It's the only color that does that. And put an elastic on it, too, so it doesn't slip out of your pocket, right? Okay, so skills. This is smart, and that's stupid. Okay. Because for this to work, you have to be in the unique position of having, okay, I'm in an airplane somewhere, I crash, there's no battery in the airplane, there's nothing else I can use, it's stupid. And I look in the first aid kit and they've got a survival blanket, they got nothing else. And I say, oh, it's a bright sunny day today, wow, you know, okay. And there happens to be a tree I can lean up against in the right angle for the sun, and I happen to have an innocuous obliquous with me, put up here, you know, or tobacco works good for that technique. Tobacco is probably the best thing you can use out here, because it's a great thing to have. So be a smoker and you survive, right? Okay, so not only do I have to have that, you have to know about it, and you have to have practiced it, because I guarantee you that doing this is like watching somebody play the piano. It doesn't mean you can do it. It's hard. That is just as hard as starting a fire with a magnifying glass made out of ice. And I've done that too. And that's also very hard to do. Okay? You got to know how to cut it into a diamond shape first. You got to know the right side, and then you got to have the sun, and it works. But it's not easy to do. And that's not easy to do either. Just like a hand drill isn't easy to do. I can't do a hand drill today. I've done it in my prime. If I did it now, after 30 seconds, I would have blisters all over my hands. And I watched Barry Keegan do it. He does it for the museum every day, and his palms are this thick, you know. And these skills, you have to practice them. I remember when I was doing the bow drill and practicing the bow drill, I was holding a string with this finger here, and I had this thick of calluses right there from doing that fire. So that's So not only you have to have that, you have to practice it, you have to do all that. And what does it change in the balance of survival at the very end? To know this skill, and not much chance of that happening, okay? So let's go there now. There's something that concerns me too about all this, because we're putting this skill in context. Let's put it in context. What does it really do? Have I helped somebody save a life here? Or have I told everybody that if they have a survival blanket, they can make a fire, so they don't need to carry a lighter anymore? Okay. So it's learning skills is two things, because survival is a balance. Okay? And I'm going to tell you what's on the balance right now. And I'm trying not to forget too much. Maybe people can guess. What is on the balance? We're going to do two sides on the balance. We're going to put the difficulties of over here. That's one side. And on the other side, what have we got? We've got the resources to face those difficulties. Okay? This is the survival balance. This is the survival balance model. And there are things on this side, and there are things on that side. What are some of the difficulties? We just saw one. I just demonstrated one with my glass of water. Weather. Okay, so weather is a big one. So let's put weather on there, okay? What do you do against weather on this side? Clothing, yeah, sure. Let's put a jacket here on this side. Jacket. Okay, this will balance out that side. I'm going to have trouble with this, I can tell. Okay, good. It's balanced on the right side right now. Nobody's dying. If you've got enough gear to compensate the weather, you're good. Put in a sleeping bag, even better. Okay. What else is on that side in weather? Okay, injuries and illness. Okay, you got injuries and illness on that side. Let's put injuries and illness on that side. Okay, here's a bandage. Okay, we put a bandage on that side. Okay, injuries and illness on that side. What do I want on this side? No, I don't. I want this. I want a spot. You know, I want to get the hell out of there. Okay. Okay. What else am I going to put on that side? Okay, weather. So we talked about weather. How about matches to go against that? That'll help, right? Matches will help. Unless you wrote the girl's name on here, and you took it off, and then you're stuck with this. And then if you do that, then you have to figure out how to light this with no. That's a skill. I'm not going to tell you how to do it. Okay? You have to practice it. It's easy. No, it's not easy. There are 3 ways to do it. Okay. Maybe I'll do it for you later. Okay. But you see, bad first aid, bad weather. Make it worse. Make your weather worse. Put ice on it. Put ice. Put snow, put minus 35, put wind, put contrary winds, okay? Then this side has to have something else. You better put some knowledge on there, you know? Put some knowledge on this side, you know? That'll help a lot. Put some good knowledge on this side. Okay, other than weather and injuries, what makes something difficult? Terrain is absolutely right. Terrain, here we go. You're running through brambles, you know, like everywhere. Like I've been in some spots, and I'm sure you have too, where hell you just get ripped to shreds by walking through there. So this makes a difficult thing on this side too, right? What other terrain things? Rivers, yep. Mountains. Yep. Terrain. Distance you have to go to get the hell out of there. Plus, other than distance, the type of terrain. Bogs, water, everything else. Maybe you need rafts to get across there, more knowledge. So it's always a balance beam between the difficulty of the trip on this side and the gear you have on this side. So we're putting gear here, and we're putting injuries, weather, terrain. What else goes on this side? Mindset, okay. Stress. Stress caused by what? For example, another physical stress. I divide this side into two. There's two stresses here. Physical stress and psychological stress. The physical stress is weather, terrain. For example, why do I need this on this side? That is a physical stress. Bugs, animals, snakes, spiders, bites, ticks, and all that kind of crap. That's all on this difficulty side. So you have more gear again. We're putting gear on this side, and we're putting knowledge on this side, and gear. But there's something else other than the physical stress, of which the three main ones are what we just said: terrain, ice, cold weather, terrain, injuries, and then there's a psychological stress. And in the psychological stress, what do we have in the psychological stress? Witness of dramatic events, tragedies, witness of tragedies. I was on a survival course, and the guys told me the real story. They getting out of the helicopter, and one of the guys' heads got chopped off on the rotor. Now, they got no physical stress, these guys, but their trauma is unreal, right? So that affects their mindset, their thinking, their decision-making, everything else. So it screws you up pretty bad. It's a big difficulty. Other things in the psychological sense that it's the culpability. Why did I forget my raincoat? Okay. Why did I forget this? Why didn't I make a plan? Why the hell didn't I make a plan? Now I'm stuck in a wilderness survival situation and nobody knows I'm here. Because I didn't make a plan. I didn't tell anybody I was going there. So the psychological aspect of the grief that you have to come to say, oh, I accept that, I did that wrong, and then everything else. So see what I mean? And there are others. I'm forgetting some, but I've got a slide. Okay. So the other thing that makes it difficult after all these things happen, and these are normal things, is that any of these things can be added to this side. Okay? So what else is on this side? Because we've talked about gear. We have gear. There's two other things. There's gear, and then there's the people. Huh? Training. Yes, of course. This is the knowledge part. This is the person part. So the person part, found somebody that I tried to find something that looked like Les Stroud as much as I could. Okay. I know. That's fine. Okay, so we're going to put Les Stroud on this side. Hang him. Okay, I'm going to hang Les Stroud. That was a good one. I wanted to do that, but I didn't dare. Okay, so we're good. We're good. We've got Les Stroud on our side now. We're good. So no matter how difficult the situation is, you've got this guy, and you've got the gear, but there's something else. Huh? Okay. Yeah, that's this guy. He's got lots of hope. He's got lots of hope. He hopes that he'll be as good as me someday. Sorry, Les. Okay, you're forgetting something else. Does anybody know anything about, does anybody have any faith in nature? What about nature's bounty? What about, how much firewood is available in the environment that I happen to be at. That helps. If there's nothing, I'm dropped in the middle of a lake, in the middle of nowhere, by helicopter at 30 below zero, and all I've still got something. I've got snow, I've got ice, I've got water, right? So you have to have something, but nature's bounty is also a very big part of the equation. Like, I've been in places where food is not an issue. I just went on a canoe trip on the Duchef River once in September. There were so many blueberries. You could pick them like grapes, like big handfuls like this. Pants were blue. I swear to God, our pants were all blue up to here. So many blueberries, it's unbelievable. So I dried a few. And that's nature's bounty right there. Okay? Lots and lots of blueberries, lots and lots of this. I've been in places where food is not an issue. You just go to the stream, and the fish are all coming up. Thousands of them. You just go like this in the water, and they're on the shore now, and I can pick them up and go eat them. I've been in other places where there isn't a damn thing. Nothing. Nothing. No animals, no food, no game, nothing to eat. Nothing. Makes a big difference on the balance. And you can sometimes predict it, but sometimes you think there's going to be blueberries. You're expecting blueberries, and you get there and there are no blueberries. And that's enough to make this tip. Okay? So you're always on a survival balance between difficulties and resources. Always. And your job is to keep it on this side. I will talk about this guy a little bit more. 4 factors contribute to human power, human strength, or human competencies. There are 4 things that make this guy better than a Barbie doll. Because it can be a Barbie doll too. Okay? That's in the nature situation. And when you're a group, it's the sum of the whole group that's on this side. So, what does this guy have to make the balance go this way even more? What do we have to teach this guy? Okay. Okay, psychological. Okay, both of you said the same thing. Psychology. We have to teach him psychology of survival. Mindset. And in some situations, that's what's going to make the difference. Now, in some situations, technique are going to make the difference. And we said knowledge. We talked about techniques and knowledge. So you know how to make the fire with this. You know how to make the fire with the matches. You know how to make the fire you know all the techniques. You're good. You're like Patrick last night, and he knows how to go fishing and all this stuff. Okay, the knowledge, the techniques is only one part of what this guy needs. The second part that he needs is that psychological outlook to say, I'm not going to give up, and I'm going to get the hell out of here, and I'm going to like the Dougal story, survival, the mindset, I got to get my kids to home. I got to get my kids to shore. I got to get my kids to shore. I got to get this psychological drive made him survive. It helped him survive. But there's another one that's very important. And that's the difference between me now and me 30 years ago. Just physical strength and hardiness and the physical part of it. Back when I was 31 years old and I did the 30-day survival trip, I could do 70 sit-ups a minute. And now it takes me 70 minutes a sit-up. See? It's not the same thing. Okay? So, physical, mental, technique, knowledge, and there's a fourth one that is very often disregarded. We have to teach this guy. And that's the topic of today's talk. Decision making. You have to have decision making too. So that is the balance of survival. Now, What I'm concerned about, and I want to tell you about this balance, and just one more thing before I put up the thing. Let's look at a canoe trip. Let's talk about canoeing just for a second, because it's an interesting example. You all know about R1, R2, R3, R4 rapids, right? Okay, so we've got R1, R2, R3, R4 rapids. That's the difficulty that I'm going to put over there. And I've got a beginner monkey here. I've got a beginner guy. I'm put on this side. And I'm going to teach him canoeing skills. Now, right now, he's not going anywhere near the water because he doesn't know nothing about canoeing. So he's down here. He's okay. He's got no problem. I'm going to teach him some canoeing skills. And now he can go and do flat water. And then he can go do R1 rapids. And then I'm going to teach him to go into R2 rapids. And as I teach him to go into R2 rapids, what does he do? He goes and does R3 rapids. Okay? So because you teach somebody a skill, let's put that skill in context, it doesn't mean that you're helping somebody. You might be making it worse for the guy. Because look at the balance of it. If the guy, I'm teaching him R2 rapids, and I'm not putting his nose in the SHIT, and I'm not showing him his limits as I do this, he's going to go do R3 rapids by himself, and he's going to go here and bust the balloon, the nice green balloon that's on the other side. So it's not just because, you know, and I'm worried about that, and I want to share it with you guys. Because when you're teaching something, you also have the obligation to teach limits, teach decision-making, teach what's possible and what's not possible. So prevention is what we really want to teach beyond survival. It's like first aid. Don't teach first aid. Teach how to prevent injuries. Let's pull out a knife and do an exercise with a tri-stick. Okay? The problem is with this tri-stick and this exercise I designed, pull out my pocket knife. Okay, 1 point, just whittle the stick down. And even as they do that, they're going to do this. Because when they get to here, they don't want to turn the stick around and do it the other way. So I start the exercise by, let's turn our stick around. Let's be a measurette. We're going to turn the stick around. Okay? Turn the stick around, turn the stick around, turn the stick around. Now let's do this. We're going this way. Then we do this notch to hold up your pot. That's a good one. So we do the notch. That's still all going the same way. Now let's do this one. Now there's the problem. You start doing it this way, and you do it this way, and then you want to go here and go towards you. No. You flunk the course if you do that. That's why I showed you to turn it around. Do it the other way. Keep turning around. Do it the other way. Never the blade in front of your face. Okay. This one now. I got to be able to put a string through a hole here. I got to make a hole. Okay. Do it this way. Turn it around. Do it this way. And then you got to press down this way. And as you do that with the folding knife, here it goes. Talk. Okay. So you have to teach that too. So just a simple thing like this. We're teaching limits. And then you want to do this one. How the hell do you do this one without read Larry Dean Olson's book on how to do it? You leave it this long. You hold the tip up here, and then you can go down here by holding the piece that's not there anymore, and then you crack it off at the end to make this. So this tri-stick is a simple idea that I had many years ago, and Morse had a similar idea on the other end of the thing because it's a good idea. It just teaches that prevention skills, teaches, and it kind of explains how do we treat something simple like a tri-stick, and how it teaches limits, teaches how not to cut yourself. So basically, what we're trying to do is teach prevention, not just teach skills, teach prevention before you do anything else. Why in the heck do you want to learn how to do this? You're never going to need it. Why do you want to learn how to do the lighter with no, You're not going to need it. Why do you want to practice this? You're not going to need it because you're going to be smart and you're going to bring your own lighter. Now, I get people to do exercises like, take your car lighter, your cigarette lighter in your car, and go light a fire with that. That's an exercise. You do it. You're out in the bush, you don't have no. Why do you do that? I'll tell you why you put that skill in context, because when you practice this stuff, people realize how hard it is to do. They got their nose in the poop, and they say, I better put a lighter in my car, glove compartment. So that's why we teach these skills, too. To contact with nature, and Les had it spot on this morning. There's the love of nature, there's the skills to do it and everything else, but when you put them in context, in a wilderness survival situation, when the shit really hits the fan, yes, really hits the fan, you don't want to use this stuff, you want to have prevention. You don't want people to cut themselves and do first aid. You want to teach prevention so there is no first aid to be needed. So survival is something you don't want to do, real survival. You want to practice survival? Yes, fantastic. You don't want to do real survival because real survival, Les said it best, and I quote, it sucks. Okay? I've done it, it sucks. It almost sucks as much as doing media. Okay? That sucks too. I tried it once and got burned, like Les said. So I don't like that. But basically, you want to teach prevention. Always teaching prevention. You're teaching prevention. You don't want it to happen. And if you don't want it to happen, you have to be very, very concerned about this back and forth thing here of what you're going to do to make it go up and down. So every time you teach a skill that permits people to up their difficulty, make sure that you tell them not to go beyond the difficulty level that they can handle. Okay? Can you put up that slide, please? See if we forgot things. See, survival is all about prevention. And if you're doing, where's that buzzard thing? I was supposed to have a buzzard thing. Did I have the buzzard thing, or do you toss me a buzzard thing so I can point, please? Thanks very much. The one that says point? Okay. Nope. You have to turn it on. There you go. See that prevention? It's crossed out. Survival only happens when you screw up your prevention. And when you screw up your prevention, then you have to worry about the survival balance. If you do prevention, you won't be here at all. You don't even need to listen to me. Okay? Do prevention. Way smarter. And here's the physical stress and psychological stress, which makes a ton of difficulties here. And here's the resources that combat this ton. So you have to have a ton of difficulties, you have to have a ton of resources. You have 2 tons of difficulties and 2 tons of resources. Okay? Put this up for me, please. Just this part. Okay? So the physical stress, we did it just a minute ago. Physical stress, injuries and illness, extreme terrain and distance to cover. This one we didn't talk about. Severance from dependencies. Smokers really hurt when they don't have any cigarettes anymore. And cocaine guys really hurt when they don't have their... Okay? Now, whoops. Can you bring it back to where it was? Okay. Here, lack of water, food, and sleep. That's a physical stress that we didn't talk about. Okay. It's always a stress. Sleep, way understated, way understated. I think that Morse and I are the only two that put a lot of emphasis on sleep. My favorite survival exercise with students is this one. We go out after lunch today, and we're going to go out in the forest, and your job is to fall asleep. Simple. Simple. As soon as you fall asleep, you're good. Your exercise is finished. I want you back here as soon as possible. Okay? You fall asleep. And when you do it on a day like today, no problem. Put 3 mosquitoes. And then it's not the same story. Put a little bit of rain, it's not the same story. Put some cold in, it's not the same story. So you can do it over and over and over again. But if you fell asleep, it means that your psychological is good, your physical is good, your decision was good because you made them right, and your knowledge was good because you did something right to be able to do that, right? So it's a perfect exercise. Just go fall asleep, okay? And if you don't have sleep, it's like you took 6 beers last night after one day. Reset your sleep as soon as possible. Can I tell you a story? Okay. I'm teaching a survival class, and I've got the students out 2 by 2, and we leave at about 3 o'clock. I had a hell of a week at the university with meetings and crap, and I was tired of stuff. But I always made it a point when I got the students to do an exercise, I have to do it too. So I tell them, you set yourself up for the night, and I'll do the same thing, and then I go visit you, and then you can come and see how I did. So I get them to go out and do this. And meanwhile, okay, where am I going to put up my shelter and a park bench and a rotten wall and the whole thing? And where am I going to put my shelter? Oh, okay, here's a good spot. So then I go get, happens to be a whole bunch of goldenrod, a whole field of goldenrod. So I chop up a whole bunch of goldenrod. That does me a good bed today. I do this. And I find a little drop, and I drop that I drop it in the hole. Oh, I'm going to test it out a little bit. So I lie down in the hole, which prevents the goldenrod from going aside. And I just lie down on there, and I fell straight asleep right there. It took 1 minute. I was dead asleep. And I woke up 3 hours later, 3.5 hours later, I think. And I go, holy geez, where am I? Oh, my students. I forgot my students. So I go see my students, and as I walk to go see my students and they are sweating like pigs, you know, they're sweating and they're working and they big shelters and the big things and everything else. And then I say, teaching moment. I'll show you what I did. You just put things in, and then I slept for 3.5 hours. My sleep is reset, and yours isn't. And it was true. My sleep had been reset. I've been back reset. You push the reset button. It's like survival is like the little Mario Brothers game. Remember the games? There's a little energy bar on the side. Energy goes up and down. And when you push, and then you pick up food on the way, and it comes back up. And you pick up sleep on the way. When you reset your sleep, push the reset button. Energy comes back up. So water, food, sleep, insects, and pests. These are the problems. Psychological witnessing tragedy and conflicts. Dangers and close calls is a psychological stress. If I'm standing here beside the cliff and I have to walk along the edge like this all the time, I'm psychologically stressed. I'm not physically stressed, I'm psychologically stressed. If I'm in rapids, I'm psychologically stressed. Okay? So dangers are always a stress. Close calls are a stress, because if something almost happened to you, it might happen to you and you remember it and you're psychologically stressed. Culpability and grief we talked about. And the worst one is this overwhelmed loss of hope thing. It's when all these things put together are so together, because they don't always come one by one, they come as a exponential thing. Put them together, they grow exponentially. And when it gets to overwhelm mode, where you think you're going to die, like I'm pretty sure I'm going to die here, then you have this loss of hope. And this also happens, this loss of hope, if I didn't make a plan, and I think, hey, nobody's going to come and get me for the next month. Holy jeez, I'm alone here. Then that's tough. So these are all, okay, so let's go back to the main drawing board. Yes, one. So that's this side. Now what's on this side here? Let's look at this side for a minute. Hit me with that side. Gear and supplies, we talked about. Nature's bounty, we talked about. And this one here can be positive or negative, but it's also a factor. How many survival stories ended well because of this guy? Oh, happened to somebody went by just the day before I died, you know, or just happened to find the cabin. Human, whoops, when did I do that? Okay, human factors are these four things we talked about. Technical skills and knowledge, physical condition and hardiness, psychological fortitude, and decision-making expertise. I want to look at just these four for just a minute, the human factors, okay? Can we go to the next slide? I think it's this one, human factors. Let's look at these things in a little bit more detail. The human factors that are important are the technical skills and knowledge. And what are the technical skills and knowledge? This is what where bushcraft fits in. It's general skills like fire orienteering, camping, food preparation, eating, clothing, how you manage your clothing, all this stuff. Then there's specific skills too, like canoeing, rock climbing, kayaking, bushcraft practice, which isn't in this part because there's also bushcraft in here. And then there's leadership skills, group dynamics, conflict resolution, etc., etc. These are all your technical skills and knowledge, and I think that we're doing a pretty good job overall in this one. What are we doing about this one? Teaching this one. Are we teaching physical conditioning, strength, endurance, hardness enough? And what can we do to improve this? Because I'll tell you something, I've got all the skills and knowledge that you want. You can have all the skills and knowledge you want. If what you have to do to survive, and Les said, do what you have to do to survive, and if what you have to do to survive is walk 40 kilometers out of the bush on a trail, then this is what counts. And this is not important at all anymore. So we have to teach this too. How do we encourage this? And the way to encourage this is to get people outside doing stuff. And if you encourage people to go outside doing stuff, then you've got to include some of this stuff in there too. So instead of doing the bushcraft camp in town, do it out of town, make people walk 4 kilometers to get to it. See what I mean? Just think about that. Think about adding this part into your planning and of your activities a little bit. Okay, let's go to the next one. There's also psychological. We said adaptability, acceptation of solitude, previous dramatic life events, and self-confidence. This here. How do we teach this? It's not easy to teach. Skills are easy to teach. They're sexy. This is not sexy. It's hard to teach. And on top of that, to teach this one, I can teach conflicts. You're an asshole. Okay? You know what I mean? It doesn't work because he's been told that 10 times this week, and now he's going to go suicide himself. It doesn't work. You know, there's ethics involved here. And you're not allowed to do this, so you have to get psychologists to come and help you to confirm what I just said. Okay? So this is difficult to teach, and one of the important ways to teach this is through books. And when you read real life stories, like you read about how I endured 31 days of the worst black flies you can imagine with no bug juice in this book, then that gives you a little bit of confidence by saying, hey, Bourbeau did that, maybe I'll survive it too. So if I read about the guy that crossed the Atlantic and ran out of food on his sailboat, and he decided to drink his motor oil of his motor, the extra motor oil at first, and at the end he was eating the used motor oil, and getting calories from that, then, he did it. Maybe I can do it too. And eventually, okay, Bear Grylls eats bugs. You want to have my opinion on Bear Grylls? I'm smarter than the average bear. I think. But as I grow older, I realize I don't know a damn thing anymore, so where we do that. And then I want to bring you in here now, because this one, books help a lot. If you read Adrift by Callahan, you realize everything he's done, everything he's been through. That helps a lot. And real life survival stories, I think you can do real life survival stories. That helps. And the coureur de bois stories from the past help. When you read Shackleton and Nansen and all those guys, and Scott and Thompson and all those guys, that helps a lot too. This helps. And then the other thing that helps in there is some kind of simulations help. But again, they're difficult because of ethics, especially in, well, the Army gets away with a lot of that. But university professors, we can't get away with any of that. So it depends on. But, oh yeah, exactly. So we need to work on this to develop tools that will help this part of the equation if we want to really teach wilderness survival correctly, and include that in our programs. And then this one, nobody seems to be thinking about, and I don't know why, because this is a very, very important thing and often makes the difference between a life and death situation. If the guy decides he's going to go walking on thin ice because he's going to go faster and goes through the ice, you know what I mean? So let's look at this one in detail, because this one here, the only way I can think of is experience and decision-making jobs or simulation exercises. Now, simulation exercise, I'll give you an example of one we've tried, for example. We get the students out, winter camping, and make a group of 3, and take 3 of their boots and 3 of their socks and toss them in the fire. Well, don't really toss them in the fire, put them in a garbage bag, and say, they were just burned. Okay, guys, now you have to do something. And now they have the decision-making because they're, say, 5 or 10 Ks from home. And there's 3 people, and there's only 3 boots and 3 socks. So what do they do now? So you can go get help. You can think about, am I going to go get help? Am I going to, 2 guys in 1 foot and jump around and the other guy's supporting us? Am I going to get 1 guy with 2 and he's going to pull the other 2 guys? What are you going to do? So you have a decision to make. So decision-making simulation exercises is good. Or even the simple ones. Okay, put a whole bunch of objects on the table. I'm going to put an axe, fire, a gun, a shovel, an ironing board, whatever. Put a whole bunch of lists and say, okay, you're stuck and you have to think of one thing that you can bring. What do you pick between the list I just made? And you have to make a decision because you've got 2 minutes to decide. Okay, what did you take? Doing what I said. Fire. Okay, you're lost in the forest, whatever. Huh? An axe, knife, fire. Okay, I took the shovel. Because I've got an axe, I've got a shovel, I've got a pot, I've got a walking stick, I've got a tool against bears. I can reach up and get tall stuff from up the trees. I can dig for roots. I can make a hole. I can make traps. I can use my piece of rock and eventually scrape that shovel into a blade and make myself a knife out of it. Okay, thinking out of the box. That's also a knowledge, which part of the decision-making process. Let's go down to the Theorem Model, which is what my presentation was about. So I'm starting my presentation now, folks. Okay, we're gonna think Serra before each and every decision and consider the effect of each option, including non-action. I didn't even tell you what the Serra is. Okay, so let's look at what the Serra is. Do I have a slide on that? Just on that part? No. What did I do? I screwed up. I'm in trouble. Okay. This one. How do I make it bigger? Crap. Okay. This is a little bit small, but here we go. Okay. Decision and survival situations. I'm not going to address this one. John Leach is the expert. Dr. John Leach is the expert on this one here. Save yourself. Because the instinct reaction when the bear is chasing you, oh, that's my favorite survival technique. always go out with somebody that's slower than you in the bear country. That's somebody that can't run as fast as me. Okay, here we go. This SOS, the top one, save yourself. First aid and signal 911. That's like right away, you've got to do emergency first aid. The guy's not breathing. You got to do something about it. It's not time to do this yet. Stop, think, observe, plan. That's the old Army acronym that I love because it's true. Okay? You want to do this. You want to stop, think, observe, and plan. Except that before you do that, the bear is chasing you. And when you're up to your, when they say, when you're up to your arse and alligators, it's difficult to remember the initial objective was to drain the swamp. Okay, so this first, okay, first aid, call 911, the standard routine, right? And then you have to stop, think, observe, plan. And I love this. The only problem is, what the hell do I think about? And what do I observe? And what am I planning for? And this is what the Theorem Model does. It tells you what this is about here. Okay? Now let's look at what our survival job is. You got 4 things that you have to do in survival. And this is your job. I mean, just treat it like a job. This is my job. I'm hired to do this. And what my job is to help search and rescue find me. This is the S, the signaling part. Or the S for search and rescue. S, signal, search and rescue. You have to think that you've got to do this. And you've got to do the energy thing. And the energy thing is put yourself in low battery mode. And that's hard because if you Joe Cool and you're trying to make it sexy and you're trying to make it testosterone thing, then that's the last thing you want to do is put yourself in low battery mode. But you've got to put yourself in low battery mode right away. Otherwise, you're going to drain that little Mario Brothers bar real quick, and you're gone. Okay. So you want to do that. Move slowly but surely. The turtle won the race against the hare, La Fable de La Fontaine. And the other thing is your energy. This saves energy, but you can also boost your energy, like by replenishing water, which can always be done, food and sleep. And water in winter, you don't have a pot, it's snow and ice everywhere, and you want to drink. What do? The slush technique is good. Split a fir. Split a fir just by placing it between 2 trees and cracking it and split it down. So you have a trench this long, put snow in it, and just hold it beside the fire till it turns to slush. And then you go, and you can drink a lot that way easily with no pot, nothing in the middle of winter. Okay, so this, but you have to do it. You have to do that. And you don't feel like drinking, but you have to replenish water as soon as possible. All the food you can get and the sleep. Risks. More people die because they do this. And if you want to do this right, all you have to do is do the exact contrary of what you see on the Bear Grylls show. Okay? This will save your life. Don't jump and climb and do crazy stuff like in the water. No. Low energy mode is boring. Look like this. I'm going to go get that piece of wood. Yep, surely but surely. Okay, I've got it. I'm going back with it. I'm putting it in my shelter. Because in any case, 6 days later, that's what you're going to look like anyway. So might as well do it right away, right? And this one. Protect and pamper. I use the word pamper on purpose. Pamper existing gear. Hey, I've got a little shitty pocket knife, okay? It's all worn out. It's the only one I've got. This thing, I don't want to lose it. And how many people, students I've seen in survival situations, lose their gear tie the damn thing up. Okay? If I've got two Bic lighters with me, or I've got this one, and I've got something way luckier than a rabbit's foot on my keychain, little piece of ferrocerium rod, right? That's a lot luckier to have this than to have a rabbit's foot on here. But I've got two things. I've got this one and I've got this one, and I'm with a buddy. Well, we have to carry one each. We're not going to put all the eggs in the same basket. Okay? If I've got food with me, give half to the other guy, or protect it. Supposing I've got a big lighter, what can I do to protect that? How am I going to tie this thing up? Well, make it bigger, Put it in something that there's no bugs, I don't need this, okay, so I'm going to make it bigger. Now it's going to be harder to lose it. Now, see? For example, to pamper and protect your existing gear, and don't make your situation any worse by taking risks, and so stay healthy, and then ration food and water. And ration food and water means different things. It depends. It depends on a whole bunch of stuff. And we can talk to our friend from the Alone Show who's got a lot of research on that and what you should do, because if you've got food and water, maybe you want to use it right at the beginning to strengthen your position and then so that you can fast later. But basically what you want to do is think about when you're going to use your food and water. And in French, we have that little Asterix guy who's got the magic potion. And I always say one good strategy is to use the food like magic potion. Okay, I'm not doing anything today, I don't need food. Tomorrow I'm going to walk way the hell over there to explore that. Well, I'm going to need food, and I eat it just before I do the exercise. So that's possibly. So basically, that's our survival job. And the Theorem Model means this is what you're thinking about. So the situation comes, my snowmobile ran out of gas. I'm in the middle of nowhere. I don't have any gear. It's going down this way. What the hell am I going to do now? Okay, I'll make a Quincy. Good idea. Don't do it. Think Sarah first, the people, so that they see that there's a shelter there. So I'm just thinking Sarah, see? Just thinking about it makes me make a different decision than just getting to work right away. Energy, that's going to take me a lot of energy, building that, digging it out with my snowshoes and piling it up, and oh, gee, that's a lot of work. Is it worth it? If it's 40 below zero and windy, maybe it's worth it, because once I get inside, I'm going to have to save a lot of energy. But if it's only -8 outside, and I know inside the Quincy is going to be -5, for the 3-degree gain, maybe it's not worth spending all that energy. Okay? See, I'm thinking Syrah right now. Risks. If I go inside of that, it can cave in on me, and I've got an extra risk. I can sprain my back while I'm doing it, while I'm digging that out. There are some risks. And when I look at assets, I'm all nice and dry right now. After I do the Quincy, I'm going to be soaking wet and have to go make a fire and get myself dried out. And that's more trouble, more gear, okay? So maybe it's not worth it making that Quincy all of a sudden. And I've changed my mind, okay? And I always say with this here, where's that next one? Whoops, what did I do again? I had that there. Think Syrah before each and every decision that you make. Every single time you make a decision, anything. Am I going to stay here? Am I going to hike? You have to consider the effect of each option, including non-action, because sometimes the best thing to do is nothing, and compare the effect on the sum of these Syrah factors. And sometimes a brief test can often help decide, because once we're in a situation where you either have to walk along the water's edge for 5 kilometers, or you can get in the water and float down for 5 kilometers. Which is the best option? Brief test is the best option here. Do a brief test. Try going in the water for just a little distance and come back. And then go try walking in the forest for a brief distance and come back. And when you go walk in the forest, you find out that it is nothing but this everywhere. Oh, maybe I would take the water. Or if you go in the water, you realize after 30 seconds, geez, this water's a hell of a lot colder than I thought. And you come back and say, we take the other option. So try both options in a brief test. And how do we teach this stuff? Again, you have to invent simulations of decision-making process. I made one once with and there's a lot online, and there's a lot of people. I made one with a beaver lake and tried to make a map and get people to decide there's a trapper's cabin at that distance, and it's 30 kilometers to go out there, and there's a lake here, and there's cattails here, and there's a beaver dam there, and and then you have to decide. Simulations, paper simulations are good, and then real simulations, if you can make them, they're good too. But we have to invent that. And I guess my message that I'm trying to make here is that this survival balance is affected by all of these things. And the weight on this side, the most important weight on this side is the gear and the prevention that you have. You know, on me right now, and I didn't do it on purpose, it's 365 days a year, all the time, every single day of every single year, the guy's got his big lighter with him. So when I'm in survival situation, I'm going to have that. And when I'm in a survival situation, I'm going to have this shitty old knife that works. I'm not going to have the beautiful, nice, but this one I'm going to have because it's always in my pocket all the time, and I'm going to have my wallet. So if I have my wallet, I'm going to have 3 snares in my wallet too that are always in my wallet, 365 days a year, all the time. I'm going to have 3 snares in here. And I'm going to have a razor blade, and I'm going to have fishing hooks, and I'm going to have all this little stuff like a needle and thread and stuff like that because it's small. And in this pocket, I will always have the most important S. Now here's an exercise to teach that one. I tell my students, we all go out, first day. I want to see what you guys are able to do. So we go 2 by 2. You're going to go into the forest. You have exactly 30 minutes. And in 30 minutes, as the exercise is over, I want you to show me what you're going to, how you're going to set up for the night, to spend the night here, okay? So they go out, and after 30 minutes, they're sweating like pigs. They've got the big shelters going. They've got a pile of firewood this high. They've got everything going. And then I bring them all back. And I say, okay, guys, you want to see what I would do in the first 30 minutes? And my assistant comes by with a case of beer. Hi, Andre. You got in trouble? Yep. Okay, good. So I get on the thing and say, see you guys, I'm going for a beer, And that brings home the point, Think Syrah before you do anything else. Think of, see what I mean? We have to integrate this kind of exercise into our teaching because teaching survival is not just about skills. It's about skills, psychology, physical fitness, and decision making. Plus the prevention of having the right gear at the right time available before you do anything else. And that's what I have to say.
Thank you very much for inspiring us. And so often I think we're caught up in the tricks of the trade, the dancing monkey things of fire by friction. And the simple lesson of go simple and get home is absolutely powerful. And thank you for bringing your perspectives that many of us have not heard. And I think we're all richer through the experience today.
Thank you very much. I want to shake your hand. Thank you so much. Pleasure. Thank you.